Hello there, Commonwealth from here, and, well, I'm speechless. Like, seriously, what's going on with Tears of the Kingdom right now is like nothing we've ever experienced before in the history of the Zelda franchise, both when it comes to its scale, the things that is being done in the game, but most of all, the sales. Like, the sales numbers for this game are going beyond any sort of expectations that were possible. Like, even if the Switch was to end later this year, this game has still the chance getting to 20 mil, if not even more, before successor is there. And that system is probably also going to have a version of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We have our launch giveaway still going up. Be sure to click on the link. We have extended it a little bit longer, mainly because of certain events that happened. And more importantly, we have to go over what this launch really means for Nintendo, for The Legend of Zelda, and most of all, the open air future of this franchise. Because 10 million in the first 3 days are numbers that we have never ever seen for anything outside of Pokemon. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet last November sold 10 million copies across 2 games, technically 1 game, but 2 versions of more or less the same game. The thing is, Tears of the Kingdom, with only 1 system, only 1 version, only 1 cartridge, has sold more, probably, than Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. The fastest selling games on the Nintendo Switch. It is crazy what is going on with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I never ever expected that. A Zelda game, a game that is far more demanding, skill-based, that has far more narrative than most other Nintendo franchises, is able to pull these numbers. It just shows that Breath of the Wild completely changed the game. Zelda was never able to sell 10 million in lifetime. Now it's doing it in 3 days. It's something I have no words for, but I can understand it. This game is an absolute phenomenon. You can do so much in this game that you can't do in any other game. And also having an install base of over 125 million on the only system where you can buy it, so the Nintendo Switch, helps a lot as well. Because it means that people are able to easily get hold of this, and they've been waiting for a big Switch game now for a very long time. Like, the previous big game that had the same level of interest was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We all know how that went in terms of both review scores and performance. This game, on the other hand, delivers. Surpasses people's expectations, especially people that came straight from Breath of the Wild and didn't have the crazy stuff of expectations that I've been sharing the last almost 4 years now. So I'm just gonna say straight out, congratulations, the Legend of Zelda team in Kyoto. You'd really have the right to celebrate now. And yeah, after numbers like these, I guess the next step is to win Game of the Year at all the sort of different game awards, including the biggest one in Los Angeles in December. So yeah, I'm speechless. Like, this game has just like no other. And that's despite minimal marketing. It just shows that Nintendo was right. Yes, we content creators would have loved to have more to work with, especially now during the spoiler window. Of course, this video is completely spoiler free. But I'm gonna say one thing, and that is that Nintendo probably knew that Breath of the Wild could have sold far more if the install base on the Switch was bigger when it was launching. Now you have 125 million systems that a lot of people, of those, never played Breath of the Wild. They just see, oh, it's this big game. I played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it was fun, it was open world. Let's play this one as well. And I think that is the appeal that we see here. Like, the different games that came out and also boosting Tears of the Kingdom even more than what we see. Like, I think Xenoblade, even though of course it's not been selling nearly as well, such as I think the Splatoon, like the Splatfest, could have actually been very important, especially say in the Japanese market, to boost launch sales for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, even though of course pre-orders there were record high. Like, this game is breaking all records, both in terms of its size, in terms of its sales, in terms of its longevity, I think, because this is a game that we're going to be playing for years on end. And we know that the Zelda team realizes that they have a winning formula here, so they're probably going to continue with that. For some, they're not going to like that because they prefer the old staple and formula of The Legend of Zelda, but with these numbers that are at the very least 3 times higher than any traditional Zelda, the best-selling before Breath of the Wild was Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, and that was across 2 different systems where they managed to get close to 10 million copies. Here we have a game that is surpassing 10 million on one system, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. One only concern I have with this is that Nintendo's just going to realize, okay, we only have to launch a new Zelda game whenever we have an open air game, because that's when we get the big numbers. So let's spend 6-7 years on the next Zelda game, which means, yeah, we are now in almost mid-2023 before they're going to start on the next Zelda game and finish that one. We're at the end of the decade. So around, 2029, 2030, it's a very long time into probably the next generation. Like, say if it comes out next year, or even the year after that in 2025, so 8 years after the Nintendo Switch came out. That would still be, for the next Zelda game to come out around 4 years after the system. That would be the latest for a new Zelda game, I think, in the history of anything. That's why it's obvious that Tears of the Kingdom, whenever we're going to get a new Nintendo system, whether it's this year, next year, or 2 years from now, is going to get an Ultimate Edition, both graphically and probably content-wise, on that system. So it's obviously, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of Nintendo's big triumph for Tears of the Kingdom. They also treated creators very well, both when it comes to the previews, but also with launch parties across the world, in fact. Yes, in the US there wasn't that much. It was mostly just the launch at Nintendo New York, and you needed the tickets. Yeah, it was a mess. Let's be honest. That event was a mess. If Nintendo and the Zelda team are able to maintain this, The Legend of Zelda has the potential of becoming as big of a franchise as the Pokemon franchise. And we have already seen the signs of the wall of this, because Breath of the Wild has been selling better than both Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. None of them have been able to surpass Breath of the Wild still. And now we could be in the situation where Tears of the Kingdom might surpass Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because I think this is a game that has more of an evergreen potential, meaning that sales are just going to continue steadily after this big boost. I think we could be at 20 mil easily by the end of the year. And then, of course, it depends on how much juice is left in the Nintendo Switch, because, yeah, we can see a slowdown, and unless we get big reveals in the next Nintendo presentation, whether that is a direct, something else, sometime later this year, it might have an impact on how many copies of Tears of the Kingdom are going to be sold in the end. But when you have an install base of 125 million systems, this was sort of expected. It was sort of the biggest hope, and it just shows that the potential of The Legend of Zelda is humongous. And if the next Nintendo system is just as successful as the Nintendo Switch, and you will do that if you launch it with Mario Kart, then of course The Legend of Zelda is gonna be able to sell probably even more. Possible, maybe even 50 million. Like, surpassing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is impossible, let's face that. But of course, I think 40 million, if the Switch still has, 2 years left, is possible. So it could be the second most selling and the best selling original game on the Nintendo Switch when everything is said and done and we move over to the next generation. But that is all I had to say. There isn't much else to add to that. It's just a big milestone. This game is surpassing everything that we could have imagined, at least in most cases. The Legend of Zelda seems to have become bigger than Mario at this point. And that is all you need to know. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and press the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. Same goes to all our patreon.com/Comeron patrons, and in particular our raw producer Charles Shesh. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.